How's it going, everybody? Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer here, Wrestling Observer Radio. It is October 23rd, 2018, figure4online.com/wrestlingobserver.com. A very, very, very newsworthy Monday here. We got a lot to talk about. And obviously the main story is the announcement by Roman Reigns that he has leukemia. Noted that he had been living with leukemia for 11 years. It was back. He said, quote, "I cannot fulfill my role. I cannot be that fighting champion. I'm going to have to relinquish the Universal Championship." Asked the fans for their prayers. Said he did not need their sympathy because he has faith. Said he was diagnosed 11 years ago. Thankfully, it quickly went into remission. But he won't lie. It was the hardest fight of his life. He was unemployed. He had a child on the way. Football was done with him. The only place that took a chance on him was WWE. Came to the main roster. The fans made his dreams come true. Fans were just going crazy for him during his speech. I watched this later. I heard about what happened, and then I watched it on the delay, and this guy comes out, and he's just booed out of the building. And, of course, knowing where it was going, it was just so hard to watch, and then talks about his leukemia. The crowd just goes absolutely silent. By the end, they're cheering, standing ovation. This is just a devastating moment, and it sucks. And all the best to the guy.
Oh yeah. As far it's really sad. There's different forms of leukemia that have different dangers, and it hasn't been released what he has, so it's kind of hard to really say what's going on without knowing more. For leukemia in general, there's a 57% chance of surviving 5 years. So it's a touch and go thing. He's young, he's strong, he's got a daughter. I think he's going to make it. I think he'll beat the odds, but there's no, there's not, this is something that you're born with a certain DNA that leads to this. And he had it before. And the thing that sucks is, a lot of people, I just remember with Ed Cohen, because he's had it twice now. He's 33 years old and he's had it twice. And I remember with Ed Cohen, and it wasn't, who had cancer, was not leukemia, but it would, come back. Like if you have it twice at a young age, I think that the odds of it coming back again are probably pretty good, which really sucks. Like if you have it once, like a lot of kids who have it and beat it, it doesn't come back. But if you've had it a second time, that's, I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I'll probably ask around tomorrow some more about it. But it's, it's devastating. As far as whatever, career, it's all something to think about another day. I just hope for the best for him. And, it's a fight. At best, it's going to be a hell of a fight. And, any other timetable or anything like that, I don't know. There's no speculation on it. Obviously, they got the word probably, I don't know. Before Friday, because he was supposed to be back on the road on Friday and he wasn't on the road. So that explains why he wasn't at the house shows. He was at TV last Monday, so the diagnosis had to have come, within the last 6 days. And I know during the day when there were different stories out about him, and I was asking around, and the response was, "It will be addressed on the show." So I thought it was an injury. That he was going to address on the show. I didn't think it was going to be this. And it sucks. Cancer's horrible. I don't know what else to say about that.
So who knew what? Because when the show opened, the announcers, they're plugging Crown Jewel, they're talking about the match, they're all in a seemingly great mood, and then afterwards they're totally devastated. And Seth and Dean came out afterwards, and Seth was just a complete wreck. It almost seemed like nobody knew what he was going to say till he went out there.
I'm sure some people did. All I know is that, like I said, the word that I had gotten in the afternoon was it will be addressed. I think that there were people who knew, just based on the response that I got right before the show. I mean, like literally right before the show. They didn't tell me, but the way it was like it's going to be addressed at the top of the show, and so I think that there were people who knew. I don't know that the announcers knew. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who knew. I know the
What if it was a situation where people were told that he had an injury and it was going to be addressed at the beginning of the show, but they weren't actually told what he actually was suffering from? It's possible. But when I asked people who would be in that category of being told he had an injury if he didn't, I wasn't told he had an injury. I know that it was reported that he had an injury in places, and then it was reported in other places he didn't have an injury and that he was fine, which he obviously was not fine. Yeah, I don't think as far as the talent goes, I think the talent all learned when he gave the speech. I'm pretty sure of that. Creative knew that there was an issue, obviously, because they had to redo the show. So they knew that there was going to be an issue. Now, what they were told, if they were told the issue, I'm guessing, I don't even want to guess. It's not fair to guess. But they knew that there was something because they had to do the show, and the show depended on certain things. I don't know that they knew what it was, but they there were people who knew something was up. But I don't know that they knew what exactly that something was. He's going to be gone for a while. Hopefully he'll be back as soon as possible. And, he's going to work on raising money for the disease. He's going to use his celebrity status to give more exposure. I think he's going to do the right thing all the way across. But he's got to fight this thing, and it's. I'm sure it's a hell of a fight. I mean, at best, it's a hell of a fight. At worst, it's a lot worse. They had a video on WWE.com that they put out there of him going through the curtain afterwards and meeting all the talent, hugging all the talent, and just basically said goodbye to everybody and then left the building. And the camera did follow him all the way to his rental car. And if you want anything even resembling something nice about this, you can watch the last 15 seconds of the video where he is joking and laughing and seems like he's in a really good mood. And that was at least nice to see after the rest of the show. So check it out, WWE.com.
So next question is, so obviously championship, Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman, and obviously that's going to Braun Strowman unless you can't say 100%. I mean, they could give Brock Lesnar a ridiculous amount of money and have a surprise ending, but I don't think that's going to happen this time, but who knows?
They could do it, but it was pretty clear, at least to me on the show, that they're building for Braun winning the title and Drew being his challenger, which it's good as anything right now.
Well, Drew's long term is going to be as a babyface. I think that's pretty clear. The interesting thing is, I don't want to get too far ahead on this, but Roman had a position. He was the face of the company, and they have to have a face of the company. And it's really interesting because, they have such a limited viewpoint on who can be the face of the company. AJ Styles is too old. There's always something with somebody. Roman ticked all the boxes. Drew McIntyre ticks all the boxes. It could be him. Strowman's kind of one-dimensional. I don't know that he can be the stopgap guy. I don't see him as the long term, but perhaps he will be, just because he's the most popular guy right now, so he's back as a babyface. They turned Elias, they turned Dean Ambrose. I don't know that either of those were scheduled originally. I think that those were all. The Dean Ambrose was going to go, but it wasn't going to be this week. And, you can debate that aspect of it, whether that's the right or wrong thing to do. From a business and emotional standpoint, this was the week to do it. The reason it was the week to do it from a business emotional standpoint kind of gets you mad that they actually thought that way and did it, but that's business. I don't know that Elias was going to do a turn this week, but they obviously need some baby faces. Last week they needed heels. Now they need baby faces. I mean, obviously Elias was going to turn at some point, so that was done this week. But I mean, as far as being the face of the company, I mean, you look up and down that roster. McIntyre is a guy who I could see because he's got good size, he's got the good body, he's a good looking guy, he wrestles real well, talks good. So, that's the kind of boxes they want punched. So I think that he could, but it's gonna, that's not gonna be right away. I think that he was being groomed, for, some time down where he's doing his Shawn Michaels Diesel thing with Ziggler, and then eventually he'll be the Diesel, and hopefully he'll fare better long term than Diesel did in that same position. I don't know who else is really in there that you could really go with. I mean, even if you look at NXT, and NXT's loaded with talent. I mean, if you look at like Ricochet, who I think could be like one of the biggest stars in the company, he's not their type of guy to be the guy. I mean, he can be a top guy. There's a lot of guys out here now who can be top guys. But as far as being the guy, man, I look there and Seth Rollins, maybe. I mean, I don't rule that one out. He's probably the most popular guy in the Raw brand, or has been the most popular guy in the Raw brand. So maybe, God, I don't know. I look at, I don't know. Look at on the NXT, Ciampa's not and Gargano. Those guys aren't the guy. Adam Cole's got all the charisma in the world, but I think that and he's got the look and the promos. He's got everything, but he doesn't have the size. And I don't know that Vince is going to go for a guy with that size as the guy. I'm trying to think who else is out there. EC3 has a presence, but I don't think that his wrestling is good enough. He can talk, he can stand there, he's got a good, I don't feel that he's good enough to be. He's just good enough at this to be the guy, even though he's good at certain things, and he's got the great look and the great presence. So I don't know. That's going to be that's an interesting thing for down the line. But it throws everything for a loop. All plans, WrestleMania, everything. Obviously, Roman Reigns was going to be the focal point, and they have always had a Vince McMahon handpicked guy leading this company since probably, the last 20 years, whether it was Steve Austin, who he wasn't handpicked from the start, but he was handpicked months before he got the championship. And then it was The Rock and Triple H and John Cena. And it was John Cena for a long, long time until really like the last year when it became Roman Reigns. And Roman Reigns, it was counted on for probably 5-6 more years. He was going to be the guy who was going to main event every WrestleMania, or be in, the key spot, whatever. So all that, everything's changed. At least for now. I mean, if he comes back, geez, if he beats this and comes back, it'll be wonderful. And the other thing is he can get booed ever again. It would be, I don't want to talk about this. This was WCW. I kept thinking, this is WCW, and he makes a comeback. They turn him heel in the third week because nobody would expect it. But this isn't WCW, thank God. But
they did turn Dean Ambrose heel tonight.
Yeah, well, that's always, like I said, that's always been in the plans. I mean, Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. I know, but
I hated it tonight.
I can't disagree with you, because reality is I felt that it was, the reason that they did it tonight was exploitive. he was tremendous. He was absolutely tremendous in his turn. I just wish it was next week or the week after. But that's the business. That's the bad part of the business right there. And look, we're going to be talking about, it's great sympathy, and I feel bad for every person who works in that company that knows the guy. I don't want to be going in here and talking about the sleazy aspect of the business, but we are going to be talking about the sleazy aspect of that business forever, because it will never go away. And the mindset that led to that is that's there. That's it. That's the deal. I did not like. I thought that they really should have edited out that. I mean, really should have not used that Undertaker and Kane promo.
The worst.
The worst. Yeah. I mean, it's like this probably hit people on short notice. The stuff was there, but my God, I didn't like the cemetery, and then with the tombstones, I just thought it was way worse. Again, it would have been fine any other week. I don't think, actually, I take that one back. I don't think that would be fine anytime in the next month. It would have been fine last week, obviously, but now I don't think that it should be even messed with for a while. And but on this show, it's wrestling. But okay, the Dean thing, I get their mentality on. I didn't like it. When I saw it, I actually thought it was great, but I thought it was the wrong week, but I didn't know. I thought, well, maybe this was always planned, and again, like I said, it was planned. It's just not necessarily for this week, but the stuff with the tombstones and everything like that, I don't know how that one fell through the cracks at all. I mean, it's like, how does that fall through the cracks? I don't get it. I mean, other than, like the idea that the real world doesn't interfere with our fake world, which, hey, let's face it, that's one of the reasons why they're, not wanting to, back off on the Saudi Arabia thing, because they don't want the real world. Vince controls his fake world that he thinks is the real world. And when the real world gets involved, to him, it's like, no, I'm in control. I'm in control of the world because everybody answers to me because he lives in this fake world. And that's why he's the one who is still pushing on while everybody else is like going, like, this is such a bad idea. And you see companies backing off and everything like that. So, but anyway, so with Saudi Arabia, so there's a lot of stuff going on there too. So the Saudi Arabia show is very much in jeopardy. I mean, as far as like what's going to happen, there's only a few people that could get Vince. Vince was, adamant about doing the show. If it was, they'll pull out if they have to pull out, but it was going to take a lot to pull them out. I was told like it would take, Trump or government officials. And there is something in that thing that's out there that, that's why tickets didn't go on sale on Friday. The decision has not been made, but it's a lot less than it was a week ago when they were pretty gung-ho on doing the show. It's in jeopardy from outside forces that are pretty much, again, I don't know the exact dialogue, but there's absolutely pressure for him not to go now. And what will happen? Again, now we have the other questions, Brock's money, Sean's money, the future of the contract. Did they go back? Did they go and do the show in a month because the pressure will be off in a month? Does the pressure go off this weekend? Do they do the show? There is all kinds of unanswered questions, which is, again, we'll just have to wait and see how this all transpires. So there was a story out about Cena and Daniel Bryan, obviously. So I do know that in the afternoon that creative was told that John Cena was not going to be on the show and that he needed to be replaced in the tournament. Obviously, if you watch the show during the Kurt Angle segment, I was waiting to, and there was John Cena being advertised. So did something change, or did they just go with the idea that, well, if we do it somewhere else, then we can have him go? So I don't know what's going on with him. Daniel Bryan, I don't know if there's anything to that or not. I don't know if I don't know if he, it wouldn't go. I don't know if that was a fake story. I asked WWE and they didn't answer that question, but I do know, and people who, as far as on the creative side and everything like that, they knew about Cena. I don't think they knew about Daniel Bryan. So that's the other one. Alexa Bliss, I believe she suffered a concussion on Saturday night in Hartford. She was not on the TV tonight. She was still advertised for Sunday for the Women's Evolution show. And they were hoping she would be ready, but, a concussion's a concussion. There's no way of predicting when she's going to pass impact testing. So if you watch the TV, I think it's pretty clear that Alicia Fox will be replacing her if she can't go, but they were still advertising her. Rey Mysterio, I don't know what's going on with Rey Mysterio. I just know that he was, not at Boston. He was in Hartford. Randy Orton is fine. Randy Orton, actually, last night, the first report we got that said Randy Orton wasn't on the show. He actually was there, and he actually did do a run-in. He didn't wrestle on the show, though, but he did do a run-in on the show. So he was there. Mysterio was off, and but he's going to be at TV tomorrow, from what I understand. And I think that covers all of that stuff.
Well, let's look at this Raw show here. So, as noted, it opened up with Roman coming out, booing like crazy. Announcers talked about the Crown Jewel show. And he starts out by saying, I owe everyone an apology. For months, even a full year, I've come out here and spoke as Roman Reigns, said a lot of things. I'd be here every week. I'd be a fighting champion, be consistent, a workhorse, but those are all lies. My name is Joe. I've been living with leukemia for 11 years. Crowd goes silent. Does his promo. They chant, thank you, Roman. He says this is not a retirement speech. Once I'm done whipping leukemia's ass, I'm coming back home. It won't just be about titles and being on top. It'll be about having a purpose. Want to come back and show the world, my family, my friends, my wife, that when life throws a curveball, I'm going to swing for the fences every time. I'm going to come back and beat this. You'll see me very, very soon. And he got a huge ovation. So thank you very much. God bless you, and I love you. Fans gave him the thank you, Roman chants. He waved goodbye, laid down the title. And then Dean and Seth came out, gave him a big hug. Did the Shield salute, and that was it. And it led to the main event where the Dean and Seth were dedicating their tag title match to Roman Reigns as they faced Dolph and Drew. Go back to the announcers. Cole's giving a speech about how we're all real people, wishes Roman the best. Renee and Corey give speeches as well. Everyone's all devastated and pretty much announced that Roman Reigns, of all people, would say the show must go on. So the show goes on.
The show must go on. I mean, that's the reality of this show, so yeah.
So we have Lio Rush out there, and he's his usual annoying self. It's Lashley versus Balor, and Balor made a comeback, went for the double foot stomp. Lashley avoided it, went for his finish. Finn rolled him up and pinned him.
I was surprised.
Yeah, they're doing a feud, so I guess both guys have to take turns winning, but they just turned this guy, and he's already in there doing jobs. So it's fine.
Yeah, there could be a reason. We'll see. We'll see in a week. But Lashley's hurt. But I don't know. I don't know that he's taking any time off. But he's hurt.
We had Drew and Dolph backstage, and Dolph thanked him for having his back last week. And Drew said last week was about kill or be killed. We have to concentrate on our tag match tonight. And Drew says Braun needs us more than we need him. I'm not afraid of him, and I'm going to go monster hunting. Sasha Banks returned, faced Ruby Riott, and had a pretty long match. Sasha made her comeback, went for the bank statement. Sarah Logan hits the ring. Bayley takes her out. Brawl breaks out. Sasha goes after Logan and Liv outside. As she's getting back in the ring, Ruby hits a right kick, pins her. So Sasha's first match back, she does the job. And that sets up a 6-person match at the Evolution pay-per-view.
Yep, just standard stuff. I mean, it's, that's what you do. It's they're setting up a match. The heels get a little heat. No problem.
We had the replay of the Undertaker promo from last week again. Nia Jax vowed to win the Women's Battle Royal. Winner gets a shot at the title.
Oh, let me tell you something. The Nia Jax and Kurt Angle promo, those shouldn't have been on the air.
That Kurt Angle promo we'll get to it. It was so wacky.
Yeah, but this one, it's just like, if you just shouldn't, they shouldn't, if she can't, if this take was not a television airable take. And, I'm watching it going like, like whatever it was, there should have been another take.
Well, if it was live, I mean, she was in no state to be doing this.
That could be. I mean, that is possible if it was live, but usually those things are pre-taped.
I mean, the Angle thing for sure looked to be pre-taped.
It had
because it was so long and they had to edit in all that stuff. I don't know about the Nia ones and the other women that were doing promos.
Well, the other one weren't so bad, but the Nia one they needed to, it felt like somebody, it's the worst of the scripted promo deliveries. You know what I mean? Like it's just, let them talk, let them be themselves. I mean,
well, the other thing too is even if it wasn't live, it's possible that she might have been one of the few people that Roman had talked to.
That's true because there is a family there, so that's possible. Maybe she shouldn't have done promo. Maybe they shouldn't have done a promo. It wasn't necessary for her to do a promo on the show.
I do always default to if something's not working, you don't have to do it.
That's what I think. I mean, it's like there was. I mean, if there was like a reason, a logical reason for this week, we have to have a Nia Jax promo, and this is the best we can do, and she's broken up, and understandably so. I mean, that's one thing. That's fine, but I think that she was not, she's in a battle royal. You know what I mean? She doesn't have to do a promo. If it was Nikki Bella, Nikki Bella has to do a promo. Brie Bella had to do a promo. Then they were fine, I thought. But anyway, I mean, I suppose that there's, if she did here first, then there's a reason. I just thought that it was, it shouldn't have aired on television in that form.
We had DX come out talking about the Undertaker deal, and Hunter says, we're not scared of two dudes going downstairs to the Knox County Civic Center and filming a scary movie on their GoPro. Sean says, nostalgia is a polite way of saying old. And Hunter says, well, there's a Halloween movie out right now that's nostalgia from a 40-year-old original movie. Just came out. It's number 1. We put 70,000 people in a stadium in Australia to see us. Maybe nostalgia is a polite way of saying we're better.
Yeah, so he's taking credit for that house.
Yep. So he said they've been running DX for 22 years. There's another X, the two of them are running now. Fans chant NXT. And they vow to go kick the ass of The Undertaker and Kane. So sure enough, we got a promo from Undertaker and Kane in a graveyard. And there's graves. They're talking about taking their souls. They've got tombstones for both guys. I mean, the one thing, I'm just watching it, and I just don't want to watch that on this show. And then, it's not even like, they could have gotten anything afterwards. They literally went from that to a recap of the Roman Reigns promo talking about his leukemia. I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
I know. It's like, when I saw the tombstone, I mean, like, when I saw the cemetery, it's kind of like, geez, save it for next week, save it for another week. But the tombstones is just like, come on. I mean, you can, whatever. Yeah.
They announced it now, Braun versus Brock for the WWE title at Crown Jewel. We had Dana Brooke vowing to win the Battle Royal. Paul Heyman comes out and just does this incredible promo, a mix of real life and storyline.
Yeah, he was great. He was at the beginning was great. Well, I mean, Paul Heyman and Lesnar too, but Paul Heyman, really likes Roman Reigns a lot. I mean, you could tell in the build up to the WrestleMania in Santa Clara. I mean, he did everything he could, to put, the way he put over Roman Reigns. I mean, always, and Lesnar as well. I mean, they always tried to put over Roman Reigns and tried to do, Lesnar and Heyman, especially Lesnar, sacrificed himself, and they sacrificed Lesnar a lot to try and get Roman Reigns over. And if Lesnar didn't like the guy, he would never have done it. But
that's an understatement.
Yeah, for sure. But I thought, obviously, I mean, the one thing you can say about this promo is, unless he knew ahead of time, this was not a scripted promo. I don't know if it was or it wasn't. Although Heyman usually, does his own. Heyman's promos are very clearly his own stuff almost all the time. But because he was really the only. Would he have been the only one to actually acknowledge real life in the promo? I mean, I guess Ambrose and Rollins did to a degree.
Well, Strowman did a little bit.
Just a little. Yeah. But he had to. But I mean, Heyman went a lot more than he had to mention Roman Reigns, obviously, because Roman Reigns was the champion going into this match, and the match changed. So when you're telling the story, you have to do it. But he went, he went further and took more time in doing it than I would have expected normally, except for the fact that he really likes the guy. So that's where he brought up having to tell his kids about it and all that because he really likes the guy.
Said his thoughts and prayers are with the champion of a man we know as Roman Reigns. Humbling to be amongst the members of the locker room tonight, have to be in the presence of such courage and greatness. Said he was going to go home tonight, explain this to his children. Wants them to understand that this show, this presentation, this industry that we all love, what we witnessed tonight was sacrifice. Sacrifice his career aspirations because he couldn't fulfill the obligations of being the Universal Champion. The title deserves the best, and each champion has to offer it. The fans have the right to point to the Universal Champion and say, that's the best. Except for the Crown Jewel tournament. Says Roman doesn't want the title to stop because he can no longer defend. He's the first guy to tell you the show must go on, and so he gets into the promo about Lesnar and Strowman for the belt at Crown Jewel. Only one of them can carry the legacy of Roman Reigns. Sure as hell won't be Strowman. Only one man worthy of being their champion, worthy of walking into the octagon, laying the title down and saying, I'm the best WWE has to offer. It's Brock Lesnar.
People weren't thrilled with him bringing up the octagon.
Brock isn't a man, he's a beast. Brock isn't in his league. He's not even the same species as Brock Lesnar.
They are in the same species. I hate to break it to him.
Yes. Braun comes out, says the only words that need to come out of Heyman's mouth right now are to tell Brock he's going to beat his ass all around Crown Jewel. He's going to bring the belt back to Raw. He's going to defend it. And even though he's had issues with Roman Reigns for the past few years, as soon as Roman beats leukemia, he's going to get the first championship opportunity. And he's about to leave, and Drew comes in and wipes him out with a Claymore kick. And there you go. Looks like Braun and Drew in a title program here for the time being.
Well, they were going to do a program anyway, but yeah, it does look to be a title program.
Dolph putting over Drew backstage. Charlie walked up. Drew says, I'm not worried about any repercussions. The roster always asks what if, but they don't have what it takes to get the job done. I'm not a child. I'm not afraid of monsters. So then we have this Elias deal. Cuts a promo. Apollo Crews interrupts. They have a match. Crews makes a comeback. Everybody's booing him. They're chanting walk with Elias, and he gets the pin. Everybody pops.
So my 3 weeks on Crews ended up being 1 week.
Well, you were close. You were only off by 2/3.
Yeah, I know.
So Kurt Angle then does this goofy promo backstage. He's putting over all the other wrestlers in the World Cup. He mentions John Cena. It's like
they're wrestlers in the World Cup?
It's like he's telling them, it's like he's telling us a children's story. It's like he's reciting a children's story on Mr. Rogers. It was very wacky. It
was so, I mean, Kurt's usually a great talker, and this was like watching, like your a guy who's like doing his first promo ever on television and just is freaked out completely and it's overwhelmed. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I don't know.
So Eliason comes out for another concert. And Corbin interrupts and he says, listen, we got a schedule here. You got to get off this damn stage. If Stephanie didn't like you, I'd fire you. Fans are chanting, no, no, no. Elias says, well, I've written a song for you. He starts to sing it. It's about Corbin being a puppet with Stephanie's hand up his ass, and Corbin cuts his mic, tells him to get off stage. Drifter leaves, switches guitars backstage, comes back out, whacks Corbin with a gimmick guitar, leaves him laying, crowd goes nuts. And finally, a guy has turned based on an incident. It's been a while.
Yeah, I guess. It was still, it's still, like, the thing is, it came just like, I don't know, came out of nowhere.
It was totally out of nowhere.
You know.
But you know what? They were cheering him in the match, so what the hell? Pulled the trigger.
They always cheer him. Or well, the thing is, they always cheer him until he insults the city. And the match was boring as hell until the finish. So, I mean, it was more, I don't know, the crowd wasn't really into the match until like the last couple of moves. They were just kind of like sitting there. You know, I mean, they didn't go for Cruz, but I don't know. That was a pretty boring match.
We had AJ versus Daniel Bryan video package and then the Rousey-Bellas contract signing. So everyone comes out of the ring, the Bellas leave. They say, clearly, Ronda, you're here to fight. We just want to sign a contract. Ronda says, listen, I promise I will not lay a finger on you no matter what you say or do. My word is my bond. No matter what you say or do, I will not break that promise. Plus, if either of you could beat me with my hands tied behind my back, my mother would be ashamed.
All the mother stuff was really good and biting, and I wonder who came up with all that, because that
probably Ronda, actually.
Well, there's a chance it was, but that was good stuff.
So the Bellas get in the ring, and Nikki says, didn't you promise your mother that you would win the Olympics and the World Championships just like she did? Didn't you promise her that she'd never have to watch her baby get hurt in the octagon, that you'd retire undefeated?
That was great.
Did you give your mom your word on those things? Your mother is already ashamed of you. And imagine what your mother is going to think when a diva beats you for your title. Ronda gets the Ronda face, but then first she gives Nikki the pen. Nikki signs, slaps her, and then Ronda smiles. She signs the contract, and she says, come Sunday, I will end you. I give you my word. And she left. It was great.
It was great. It was great. It was great for her to be a baby. You know, they really got her down as a baby face. I mean, like when it was over.
Which is astounding, because they are so bad with baby faces.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's maybe because maybe she gets her character better than they do.
Well, one way or the other, I love this. How were ticket sales for Evolution after the Angle last week? Evolution
will do fine. They ever since they announced Ronda and Nikki, they sold tickets. So I mean, it's been fine for, you know, it's been moving for the last 2 weeks. I don't know that it's going to sell out, but it's going to be fine.
We had Nia, Ember, Tamina, and Dana in a fatal four-way. Ember beat Tamina. There was nothing to it.
It only went 2 minutes, and yeah, nothing at all. Yeah, you know, I guess they just needed matches, because there was not a lot of wrestling on this show. There's a lot of talking.
We had a Titus O'Neil breast cancer segment. His grandmother died of breast cancer in 1996. He's happy to share the stage with 6 women who beat breast cancer. They all have title belts. He names them all one by one, and it was very nice.
So Titus and Apollo Crews broke up. They had a phantom breakup.
I guess they did announce that, didn't they? They're no longer, wow. Yeah,
they're just out of nowhere. They're just, I guess it doesn't really matter, because it's not like they were doing anything in Titus, you know, worldwide anyway. But it's kind of like you know what I mean? It's like one of those things. Sometimes they do stuff to do it with, like, you know, it's like, it's to me, like, if you're going to do a breakup, you should have like a better direction for other people, or an idea of where you're going. Because, like, okay, it's not like Titus and Apollo are going to feud. And Titus is a good talker. He's a really good talker. He's not a great wrestler. Apollo is a very talented wrestler who's struggling for a variety of reasons, some of which is just that he's been pushed like a guy who's you shouldn't care about, and that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But, yep, so no more, no more Titus Worldwide. Dana Brooks just a wrestler she did get a promo, and she was better than several people on the show doing her promo.
I'm looking at the career of Roman and Titus O'Neil, and I bring this up because when they had the backstage stuff after Roman went through the curtain, he's hugging everybody, he's thanking everybody, and he gets to Titus O'Neil, and he says, "You are my mentor." So I didn't know about that aspect of their relationship, but he really put him over as his mentor, and I guess they were developmental together. Maybe
like role model, because Titus is several years older, and Titus really does a lot of charity work, and Reigns does a good deal of it as well, and probably will be doing a lot more now. So in that sense, I don't think he's his mentor. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the relationship, but they have similar backgrounds. I mean, they're both football players who didn't make the NFL that were. Roman was a much better collegiate player than Titus O'Neil was, although Titus was expected to be a better collegiate player. They had very high hope. Titus was a high school superstar. But anyway, I don't know. I didn't know that.
Trish and Lita doing a promo backstage. Alicia Fox shows up to mock them. They have a message for her. They're attacked.
Alicia Fox is like 9 feet tall.
Yeah, they're attacked by Mickey. Trish and Lita return for revenge. So, as noted, obviously Alicia's there in case Alex isn't ready to go on Sunday.
Yep.
Now, in the main event, Ziggler and McIntyre versus Seth and Dean, WWE Tag Team titles. Shield dedicated the match to Roman. They cut off Seth. They beat on him forever. He made his big comeback. Superplex into a Falcon Arrow. The place always goes nuts for that one. Yeah. Trading cradles.
Seth and Seth really does like the same stuff in every match. I mean, it's good.
But it works every time.
Yeah. I mean, he works hard. It's good stuff. But I mean, that's also WWE style. WWE style. Like it's the difference, WWE style and New Japan style. WWE style is you do a few things and you do them all the time so the people pop for your things. And New Japan style is you get over a few things and then you don't do exactly that and you surprise people with it, but you still make it like it's a match. I mean, there's other things too, but that's the one thing I always notice is like WWE it's kind of like dumbed down wrestling in a lot of ways in the sense that you get your spots over and then you really just do the same ones over and over again in your match, and the people sit there and wait for those spots and then they like those spots. And in New Japan or in Ring of Honor for that matter, it's like you will do those spots at times, but you'll also tease and work around them, and a lot more. You'll do another level. You'll go one more level mentally from it, which they don't encourage in WWE.
It's just more counters.
Yes, that's probably the better way of putting it. More counters. But they do counters in WWE too, but not as many and not as creative. Not really like this well thought of stuff. I mean, AJ might, but for the most part, Daniel Bryan might, but for the most part, they really don't. Yeah.
So Braun's music hits. He lurches down the ramp, goes after Drew. They brawl into the crowd. And in the melee, Seth hits curb stomp. The ref had taken a bump. Dean throws him into the ring. Ref wakes up, counts to pin. So Seth and Dean, they've dedicated the match to Roman. They win the tag team titles. The fans, they're so happy. They're cheering. The show's over. They're just having the time of their lives. A happy ending on this sad night. But it's all about getting heat. So out of nowhere, Dean Ambrose turns heel on Seth after they win the titles, gives him the DDT, beats his ass around ringside. They tear away the black mats, gives him his DDT on the floor. WWE gets their shocked reactions that they love from all of the fans. And a sad ending to what started out as a sad show. But hey, now they got a guy that people are going to be mad at. I hated this.
You have every right to hate it. That's all I could say. I don't expect better. And so I look at it like, yeah, that's what they did. And Dean Ambrose was tremendous. Absolutely tremendous in this segment.
You know what? He'd have been tremendous any segment where he turned on Seth. Didn't have to be tonight.
Well, if you think about why it was tonight, it probably only makes it worse.
That's why they did it.
I know.
Like, this is real life. A guy's got leukemia. Give the fans a happy ending, for crying out loud. You can do your turn next week, or keep building it up like you plan on doing anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's not like this the first time. It's not like this the last time.
So anyway, that's the Raw show. Tomorrow, SmackDown, we have the Miz TV with Rey Mysterio, and I guess we'll find out if anything's going on with Daniel Bryan. Guess we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, let's do some mailbag questions right here. Got a lot of them as always. This person here, oh man, I can't even read this. It's like just paragraphs long about how upset this person is about them getting heat tonight.
Well, I can't argue. I mean, especially, what are you going to say? You know, I mean, like I said, it's been done before. It'll be done again. It's not one of the, when that's, like I said, I mean, they live in a world where their fake world is more important than the real world. And when you think like that, you do things like this. You do things like all the decisions that they make, or many of the decisions that they make. It's kind of sad in that way that I don't know that, well, I mean, I don't know. I guess there probably are people who are consumed by whatever they do to where their fake world's more important than the real world. But, I mean, and in wrestling, I guess it's really that way anyway, all the time. But this time, like, the real world infringed on their fake television show. And instead of respecting it, it's like the mentality is, okay, it sucks, it's sad. So how do we benefit from it? And it's like, when he did that speech, I was thinking like, man, I hope he gets better. And the words of, how do we benefit from this? Like, it didn't even enter my head. Like, how do we benefit from this? I was thinking that, well, if he does get cured and he does come back, it's going to be a wonderful story. I was thinking that, but I wasn't thinking, like, how do we benefit from this in the next 2 hours? I wasn't thinking about that for some reason.
This person here says, do you know if there's any footage of the first two Shea Stadium shows run by the WWF in 1972 and 1976?
76 for sure. 72, I've never seen anything from 72. That doesn't, and I would think that they would put that up on the network, because like the San Martino Morales match, was pretty historic for its time. But 76 is Bruno Stan Hansen, right? So I've seen that Bruno Stan Hansen match, and I've seen the Andre Wepner match. You could probably find it on YouTube. I don't remember what other matches they had on that show, but yeah. So 76 for sure, yes, and 72 I've never seen anything.
This person here says, have there been any names considered to headline the Hall of Fame in 2019?
Nothing I've heard. I haven't heard that. We're in November, so they probably are thinking that. I should probably ask around, but no, I haven't heard anyone.
This person here says, last night while talking about TV ratings of women's segments, you mentioned they were ratings death 5 years ago. Around that time, AJ Lee had her 10-month title reign. As far as I remember, she was considered a really good TV ratings draw, even better than a lot of the guys. Can you correct or confirm that?
There were some good TV rating quarters with AJ Lee. I do remember that, yes, because we were still getting quarters then. Yeah, she did well with when she was with Daniel Bryan was really when both of them really clicked, as I recall.
This person here says, do you know how the Vince McMahon explosion/funeral angle was supposed to play out? What was the end game?
I don't know what the end. I mean, the end game was that he was going to. Everyone was going to think he was dead, and then he was going to show up and be alive. I know that, but I don't know. As far as like that was the end game, yeah. As far as how they got to it, I don't know.
Let's see here. This person says, anything come out of the reported Impact meeting at WWE headquarters last month?
No, not really. I'm going to guess that WWE probably spoke to them about, usage of some videotapes or something. And obviously they've been cooperative on that in the past. So I know the Impact people just described it as everybody trying to talk to each other and not be enemies. So that was what it was. It was a not be enemies meeting.
This person here says, what is the history of professional wrestling in Las Vegas? Was there any attempt to create a territory? And what territories regularly ran there other than AWA having TV tapings in the late 80s?
Las Vegas always had wrestling. It was usually either run off of the, they never had, it usually ran off either the Southern California or the Northern California promotion, mostly the Southern California promotion. I know that they were, Shire ran there for a while in the 70s, and then like around 72, 73 stopped, and then it became during the rest of the 70s, it was a LaBelle city, and it was not a strong city at all. Obviously, historically, as at other times in the past, it was a strong city, but historically, most of the time it was run off of the Southern California promotion.
This person here says, I just watched a Legends Battle Royal in the WWE Network from the mid-'80s. It was won by Luthez. It was 71 at the time.
The Meadowlands show, yeah. I saw that one, yeah.
Nick Bockwinkel was also in the match. Did Vince ever try to land Nick from the AWA back then?
Not as a wrestler. They brought him in as an agent. They tried him as an announcer, I think, for a while. But when they hired him, when they offered him the job, it was not to be a wrestler. They thought he was too old, even though, and it was time for him to retire, and he knew it. He could still go. I mean, he was great. He was great even in his last year, but he knew it was, he was starting to get hurt. And, he was 53, I think. So it was 87 when he went, and Nick was born in 34, so maybe 52. Yeah, 52, 53. Maybe 52. But, Vince didn't have an interest in a 52-year-old guy, even though Nick was better than probably, 80% of the guys he had at that point, even then.
This person says, do you think that Ric Flair's legacy would have been any different had he retired in 1993? Did he hurt it in any way by continuing to work so far past his athletic prime? I was unaware that Flair's legacy had been tarnished.
There's people who have created this narrative that Rick never had any good matches, even though he kept having good matches. I saw Rick and Hulk Hogan, the first match they had in Australia, and Rick was, 60 then? On that Australia tour. The first match they had was really, really good.
Dude,
and
Flair had that match with Foley in TNA that was ridiculously good. They were both way past their athletic prime.
That was that was even after that. Or was it? Which was first? No, Flair worked the Australia tour was before Flair went to TNA. Flair was getting hurt a lot in TNA though when he wrestled. He got a lot of injuries but I mean, he had the first night in Sydney. I mean, it was like a hell of a match. I mean, especially with Hogan, who was completely immobile. But Flair understood how to work with guys who were immobile. But then Hogan, Hogan's hip went out, I think, or his back went out the first night. So then the rest of the tour, those matches, I mean, even Flair, there's nothing Flair could do. Hogan, I mean, he was immobile, but he was hurt and immobile and just couldn't do anything. And the rest of the tour wasn't so good. But the first night was a hell of a match. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. There is something. I mean, The thing is like, I don't want to say he went too long, because on certain nights, even in his last year, he had a match with Triple H in Greensboro that was really good. A lot of people loved his match with Shawn, and in certain ways, that match was fantastic. In other ways, it wasn't so great. I was not a fan of it because, it was, to me, it was Shawn Michaels just doing everything that he could so Ric Flair would have a good last match, and Rick not having a good night. But from an emotional standpoint, because Rick knows how to do that stuff, I mean, it was fantastic in that way. But yeah, a lot of people loved that match. I mean, people voted for that match for match of the year, the match with Shawn. So, he had plenty of good matches after that. But he also had matches that weren't so good, and he was, he certainly wasn't the wrestler that he was in the 80s or the 70s at that point.
And finally, this person wants to know, have you ever heard anything about this? It was on Twitter, a story about Dick the Bruiser contributing to the delinquency of a minor. And, let's see, 1964.
He got arrested in 64, yeah. Him and a bunch of wrestlers, underage girl. That wasn't that unusual then. That's not defending it. That's just how the world was. It wasn't that unusual. It's probably not that unusual now, honestly. It's just people get offended by that. But when it comes to athletes and stuff like that, I mean, it hasn't, it's changed. But life is life still, I mean, it's, I don't know. Sometimes, like, I don't want to get into that discussion. A lot of people are like live in a denial world and like don't understand the reality of the world and things like that, and get offended by things that happen all the time. And perhaps, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but it's like singling out. Like, sometimes people will single out like one person who did something that anyone who follows wrestling for any length of time knows that was regularly done. Like, if you want to do that and you want to jump on somebody, it's like you can't watch any of your old tapes, because a high percentage of those guys were all doing that. So if you're offended and you can't watch a certain guy because of the idea that something like that happened, you can't watch your old tapes. I mean, or, because so many of those guys did that. And I remember the last time I said that and everybody got so mad at me. I'm just telling you the truth. I mean, that's just the nature of what the business was. And, I pretty much spelled it out in that thing I wrote, that's just what it was. I mean, it's that's what, and wrestling was not unique at that time. I mean, it's not like wrestling was wrestling and rock music, those were hardly the only places, that occurred in. It probably occurred in every single sport at that time. It was just how things were.
All right, everybody, and then we're going to wrap it up for today. The New Observer is going to be out on Wednesday with a lot of stuff about all of this, and Back Issues Up, the radio shows, lots of them on the front page, lots of them to come. And that's it from here. We will talk to you again after a while.